All right, good morning, guys. I'm here today with part 3. We are just continuing along with the body work. So I do want to say right off the bat, we do have a new set of doors coming. I found a gentleman in the Dodge A108 van group that agreed to sell me some doors for a very reasonable price. So they should hopefully be here the beginning of June. So hopefully that all works out because that way we don't have to deal with all that mess. Since the last time I recorded, I did get that little patch panel down there, and I finished welding in where the license plate holder was. And so we're going to start working here right now and keep pushing ahead, and with any luck, maybe by the end of this video we'll be done most of the exterior work on the van at least. So for this section in here, I think what I'm going to start by doing is I'm going to cut out this lip that's here right now, cut it back up to here and work across, and then weld in this strip first, and then I'll go ahead, do the tape thing, tape this all off, and cut that out from there. I think that's just going to be my easiest way to do it. I don't really have a good way of trying to bend this lip, and the patch panel that I had, or that was in this section before riveted in, was not in very good shape. And so I think that's just going to be our easiest course of action. So we're going to go ahead and get started with that. Alrighty, guys, so we got that panel done. we're getting ready to start working in here. Now you can see that there are some rivets in here. He's done some patchwork with his rivets. And I don't know if it's just because I'm getting lazy and tired, or if this is actually better than some of the other work. But I think I'm actually just going to leave these. Especially because I think this is pretty flush in here. Right in here it's not, so what I'll probably do is take a grinder, try and grind that down till it's flush. I want to pull this styrofoam out, or this spray foam out of here, and weld some of those corners together and try and bang this a little bit closer together, or a little bit smoother. And then I'll just go in here and patch these holes, but this shouldn't take us too much. Now, one thing though is that you can see that there's a lot of Bondo in here. So I'm not entirely sure how to get that out. My initial thought is to maybe try and take a propane torch and try and heat it up until it chips off. I've noticed that in areas where I'm welding, if I weld near this stuff, it chips up and it will fall right out. So maybe that's a solution to try in here. I can't really get in there with a wire wheel any better, and well, maybe I should try a wire wheel. I don't know that I tried a wire wheel in here. But maybe try and hit it with that propane torch. Maybe it'll break apart. And then I can try and fill in some of these areas with some weld just to try and clean them up a bit. But this really isn't that bad. And my main issue for pulling these out is just rust. And these really don't look nearly as rusted back here. So that's why I'm going to leave them. And they'll probably have carpet in them at some point anyhow to hide it. So, alrighty. Well, I'm going to do that and we'll go from there. Alright guys, well, I've done about as much welding as I think I'm going to do in this section. It's not great, but I'm tired, so it's going to be good enough. I'll be able to come in here and fill in with probably some seam sealer or something. But we're now going to come on over here. This is where we're going to work next. We're going to try and probably cut out in here down in here, and then probably end somewhere in here. So, and then after we get this cut out, I'll probably try and come in here with a hammer and dolly and see if I can clean this edge up a little bit once this is out of the way. So, and then after we finish that, the goal for today is to hopefully come over here, get this mess cleaned up. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to do that yet. Probably cut a little square for here, and then maybe make another little square up in here, and maybe just try and fill in this a little bit with weld, and obviously do these little holes. But once we do that, the major external body work is just about done, and we'll just have these spots up here, which shouldn't be too bad, and these around the windshield, which won't be too bad. But I gotta remove all the glass to do that, and they're calling for rain for the rest of this week, so we won't finish that up today. So anyway, back to this. guys, so we got that section done. Now we gotta come over here. Not really sure yet still exactly how I want to tackle this issue. But I think that what I'm going to do first and foremost is get this wheel off and then drill out the rivets that are in here, and maybe just try and take it back to a blank surface. This side definitely isn't in as good a shape as the other side was, so that's probably why I'm going to take all the rivets out and try and start afresh. So, all right, well, let's get to it. Alright guys, so I think my current tentative game plan for this is to do it in 3 pieces. So we're going to do our first piece, which is going to come down here and redo this step here. So that'll go right there. Next, I think we're going to do another piece, which is going to come down here, follow this angle, and come down to here. And then, after we have those 2 welded in, we'll see what's left over and try and see if we can get this piece in here. And then we got little bits of missing material in here, but I'm not so sure I'm going to worry about them. But we'll see. See where the ambition leaves us. So, anyway, to start, let's go ahead and get these cut up. Alright guys, so you can see what we did for our first piece here. We cut it out, we put this bend in it, and now we're going to go ahead and try and make this piece. So you can see we're going to try and cut it this way, put a bend in it this way, and then this way. And maybe if we're bold, well, we probably won't make this bend because we're probably going to try and end it and just marry it into here. But we'll see how that works out. But I just wanted to show you how I was bending the pieces in case that was something that you needed to do. Also for that first piece that I did, most of my body panels have been out of 20 gauge steel. That floor piece I did out of 16 gauge just because I wanted something a little bit, wanted to make sure that is going to hold up to weight and people stepping on it. So for that first piece, since it only has a small lip, I did it in the vise here with this piece of square steel to extend the whole length. This one, it's too long since we have multiple bends to do. So this is how I'm doing it. I've got it just clamped in between these pieces. And then we can just bend it down. Now as we're bending it down, we're going to tap it with the hammer. So nothing too complicated, but just a heads up. All right, so we got our first bend done. Now we're going to make the second bend.
Now when you're doing this, you just want to make sure that you're getting your bends in the right orientation. It's an easy mistake to make, get confused along the way. So just make sure that when you're lining up your bends, you know exactly where you want to be. So for this one, next one, we'll go ahead and we'll clamp it down. This one's going to be bent up. You want to get these nice and tight because you really don't want it to slip while you're trying to bend up on it. Now this was only 20 gauge steel, so this bends a lot easier than that last piece, than the floor piece that I did. So that's why I'm able to bend it mostly by hand. And the hammer really helps because it helps you get those sharp corners. You can bend this up just by hand, but the problem you'll run into is you'll get a pretty rounded edge unless you use the hammer to kind of come in here. That one. It's certainly not perfect. You can see kind of the hammer marks in it, but it'll be better than what was there. So right now we have our floor. We have the dip that goes around the door. So now we gotta make the piece that goes here and bends down. So we got our final bend to do. I gotta go get that measurement and I'll be right back. All right, so that was actually the same as that measurement. So we can go ahead and get this lined up. I just made the exact wrong mistake I told you about. I bent it the wrong way. And when I bent it back over, it looks like I extended it a bit. So I don't know that that's going to fit very great. But if we have to, worst case scenario, we'll just cut it off here and then we'll weld it back on in the proper spot. So, all right, so we got our piece. As I predicted, it got too long in here because of where I messed it up. I think otherwise it would have actually been pretty stinking close, but oh well. So we're going to go ahead and cut this now. Alright guys, so I couldn't really get any good footage of that because I'm working in such a tight space here, but it looks like this worked out pretty good. We got this welded all back in here, up and around, up in here, so that turned out pretty good. So now I got to straighten out this line up to here. And then I think we'll be ready to do our last piece. I think we'll be able to do this whole section back in here and then loop it around underneath here and call it good. Although I'm not even really sure that looping it down under here is all that necessary. I think it'd be very noticeable if it wasn't. But when we do this, when we get it all down here, we're going to want to make sure we extend it back here so that we can make sure we get our lamp going around. So, alrighty.
All right, guys, so we just got this all welded in, but I noticed a little mistake after I closed the door, which is the lip of the door catches right around in here. I really should have thought about that more as I was doing that. Makes sense. Hopefully I'll be able to get that modified and fixed. But thinking about it, this bottom hinge of this door has quite a bit of play in it, if I remember. Maybe it's the top one. One of these hinges has some play in it. So I really got to get that fixed first. So I'm just going to leave this as it is for now. But obviously if we're going to want to get a good seal, we'll want to do that. And then I'll have accidentally ground a hole through in here. So... But that's going to wrap it up for this video. But we'll... so that takes care of the majority of the exterior bodywork. We're going to have to do a little bit more around these corners, as I said before, and the gutters up top. But we'll get that up in another video. And then we've got to start working on the interior. So for the interior, we got to recut this. This was just hacked all apart. To fit a different sized radio, but they didn't get it right. So we're gonna patch that back in. We gotta patch this in down here. I don't know what the theory was down here, but we're gonna go ahead and patch that back in and then get it cut for the controller for the vintage air system. And then around in here, we got to start welding in all the supports and make corners and whatnot and start getting it ready for upholstery. So that way all the metal's in already, and then we don't have to worry about that after we paint. So, all right, guys, I'll catch you in the next video. Take care and God bless.